It's the show that magicians around the globe don't want you to see. The masked magician is back, out of hiding, daring to expose the world's most highly guarded secrets. You'll find out how they perform amazing appearances, death-defying escapes, baffling levitations, astounding vanishes, mind-blowing sleight of hand, and impossible illusions. No magician is too famous. No trick too big. No secret too sacred. The magician's code will be forever broken on magic's biggest secrets finally revealed. Tonight, the masked magician pulls back the curtain and exposes the secrets to levitating a sleeping beauty without hidden wires, making gorgeous women appear inside a sealed crystal chamber, impaling a lovely lady with an imposing iron spike, plus the most baffling illusion of all, defying the laws of space and time with a door to another dimension. And much more, right now on Magic's Biggest Secrets Finally Revealed.
First up tonight, the magician will demonstrate a classic illusion that has been performed on television countless times and in live performances all over the world. His assistants do a little dance to get us in the mood. Good job. But no matter how talented they are, he can always use one more. Here she is. Nice. She steps up onto the chair and reclines on a board that is resting between two other chairs. Now another assistant enters. This one is apparently repossessing the furniture. The magician places the girl in a trance as his other assistants wrap her in a sheet that was hanging down from the board. Nighty-night. Beneath the board, we can see that the magician is standing on a raised platform so we can see him work his magic. He does some conjuring, and the girl rises. The assistants remove the chairs that were supporting the board. She's floating in mid-air. Slowly, the girl continues to rise. The magician motions, and one of the assistants returns with a stainless steel hoop. The magician passes the hoop around the girl once to prove that there are no wires or other supports. She's really floating in the air by magic. He passes the hoop around her a second time, just to be sure, before the assistant takes it away. Now the magician commands the girl in the air to float back down. This is amazing. And we can see there are no wires. He asks the two assistants to return with the chairs. They place them beneath the board just in time to catch it before it floats all the way to the ground. The sheet is removed, and there you have it. A beautiful girl who can levitate by magic. So how did the magician make his lovely assistant levitate before our very eyes? Here's how. When the illusion begins, a board is supported on each end by wooden chairs. The assistant takes her position and is wrapped in a sheet. This sheet conceals the first secret. Hidden behind it is a steel mechanism that is holding up the board. The chairs are merely there for effect. Without the sheet, we can see the mechanism supporting the board and the girl. When the magician steps behind the girl and up onto the platform, his body hides the mechanism from view. But how does he make her rise? The platform contains the next secret. Concealed inside is an electric motor that is connected to a hydraulic piston powerful enough to support the girl. The steel mechanism is attached to the piston, which raises it into the air. The platform's carpeted top contains the next secret. 2 switches are hidden beneath the black carpeting. When the magician appears to be conjuring the power to levitate the girl, he's simply turning on the power to the motor. One switch causes the hydraulic piston to rise, the other causes it to lower. With the board attached to the mechanism, how does the magician make it appear that it's unsupported by passing the solid hoop around the girl not once, but twice? The secret here is the design of the steel mechanism. This S-shaped metal tube is connected to the board. On the first pass, the magician slides the ring close to the board and on the inside of the S. When he comes to the end, he slides the part of the ring that is trapped inside the S back around the other side. This frees the ring from the S-shaped support and makes it appear that it has passed completely around the girl. Careful choreography is all it takes to navigate the maze-like support while making it look nonchalant. Since the audience is busy looking for overhead wires, passing the hoop around the girl convinces them she is floating by magic. Even I'm about to believe it. Next, the magician steps on the down button, and the hydraulic piston lowers the girl back to her starting position. The chairs are replaced beneath the board, and the illusion is complete. Not so amazing when you know the secrets. Here's a classic piece of close-up magic that some street performers present as a brand new miracle. The magician shows us an ordinary slip of white paper. As we can see, it's nothing special. As we can also see, his hands are completely empty. He sets the slip onto the table and picks up a box of kitchen matches. He takes a match. Just one. Closes the box before striking, lights it, and then lights a candle. This is a good time to tell you not to try this at home. Next, he takes the slip of paper and crumples it into a ball. He touches the paper to the flame and, whoa, it flares up. But it hasn't burned. He unfolds the paper and it looks different. It's magically transformed into a $100 bill. A little warm, but still cold, hard cash. So how did the magician burn an ordinary piece of paper into a hot 100? Here are the secrets. When the trick begins, the magician shows us an ordinary piece of paper. First off, it's not ordinary, but more on that in a minute. As for the matches, they are ordinary, but the box contains the next secret. With the drawer slit open, there is a space to conceal something in one end, the money that he's about to make appear. See? It's a genuine, slightly crumpled $100 bill. Before the trick begins, the magician crumples the bill into a ball so that it can easily fit inside the end of the matchbox. This way he can show his hands empty at the start of the trick. He slides the drawer out just far enough to allow some room for the bill, which he stuffs inside. There it is. Here's how it works. When he's ready to burn the paper, he takes out a match, slides the drawer back in, and the bill slips into his hand. Here we see how he does it. There's the 100. With the money concealed in his palm, the magician lights the candle and prepares to burn the white slip by crumpling it in his hand. What we don't see is that he's actually crumpling the white paper around the 100. When he burns the white slip, the real bill is inside, ready to appear. But why doesn't the money burn up with the paper? Remember I said it's not ordinary. It's special chemically treated flash paper that burns instantly and creates bright flames. The 100 is unharmed. All the magician has to do is reveal it, and the trick is complete. But the real money is in knowing how it's done.
Up next, the secrets to creating beautiful women from a cloud of smoke, and the mysterious comings and goings through the door to an alternate universe. Then, find out how the magician loses his stomach and lives to impale an innocent girl with an iron spike. And much more when magic's biggest secrets finally revealed returns.
For this next illusion, the magician will use this giant cylindrical crystal chamber. This looks like something out of either a science lab or science fiction. For now, let's just stick to the facts. The magician opens the door to the chamber so we can see that there is nothing inside, and we can see all the way through. He closes the door and lets us get another look before the magic begins. He does a little bit of conjuring, and suddenly the cylinder starts to fill with smoke. Funny, I didn't think there were any places left where you could smoke inside. Wow, a beautiful girl. I know smoking is bad for your health, but she looks pretty healthy to me. I think I like this trick. Let's get a better look at that chamber. As the smoke clears, we can see that there's still nothing inside and nothing behind. This is one big empty tube. The magician closes the door again, and let's see what happens this time. A little wave, a little more smoke. Okay, a lot more smoke. And when the magician opens the door, presto, another beautiful girl. And there we have another amazing illusion. One magician and two smoking hot girls. So how does the magician produce not one, but two lovely ladies from the smoke-filled crystal cylinder? Here are the secrets. When the illusion begins, the magician shows us that the cylinder is empty. But notice that behind the cylinder are some ladders and a black drape. Whenever there is a black drape behind a large magic prop, you can bet that it's hiding something. From the front, with the black behind the cylinder, it looks like we can see all the way through. But on closer inspection, we can see that the clear chamber conceals a black shade that divides it in half. With the black drape behind, the black shade is impossible to detect. Hidden behind the shade is the first assistant. When the magician shows us that the chamber is empty, he doesn't walk behind it. He conjures up some smoke, signaling a stagehand to turn on a concealed smoke machine which quickly fills the cylinder. As soon as our view is obstructed, the assistant releases the shade and seems to appear from nowhere. With no smoke, we can see how quickly the shade rolls up out of the way to reveal the assistant. Once she's out of the chamber, the magician is free to walk around back because the cylinder really is empty. But where does the second assistant come from? The secret here is in the base of the chamber, which is much deeper than it appears. It contains a secret hiding place that is just large enough for the assistant. Before the trick begins, she takes her place beneath the false bottom of the chamber. The other assistant must be careful to stand only along the edges of the base to avoid stepping on her. When the chamber is filled with smoke for the second time, the girl in the base climbs out, using the smoke to cover her actions. Here we can see her standing up. Without the smoke, it's much easier to see how she climbs out. All she has to do is step out of the cylinder for a breath of fresh air and join the magician while he gets all of the applause. It was done with smoke, but this time, no mirrors. And those are the secrets. Next, the magician will demonstrate his powers of mental telepathy. One of his lovely assistants will act as a volunteer. He displays a rainbow of colorful crayons and shows them to the girl. Next, he tells her to select a crayon at random as he holds them behind his back. She's not in on the trick, so she chooses of her own free will the green crayon. The magician asks her to return it to him while his back is still turned. Next, he instructs her to concentrate on her crayon, removing all other thoughts from her mind. He intends to use his powers of ESP to read her mind and deduce her color. He reminds her that his back was turned, so he had no way of knowing which crayon she freely selected. No, it wasn't this one. Or this one. But it was this one, wasn't it? Pretty tricky, and it was all using the power of his mind. Or was it? So how does the magician determine which crayon his volunteer chose? Of course, it has nothing to do with ESP. Here are the secrets. When the trick begins, he displays a handful of assorted crayons. They're all ordinary and unprepared. He asks the volunteer to select one at random, and it really is her free choice. She returns the crayon to the magician's hand, and he turns back around, keeping the crayons behind him. This is when the magic takes place. While the crayons are hidden from view, he uses the chosen color to secretly mark his thumbnail, then reunites it with the others. When he gestures with his empty hand, he sneaks a peek at the color on his nail. From his point of view, it's easy to see the chosen color, a green thumb. Then he does a little acting to make it look like he's trying to determine which of the crayons she selected. But he knows which is hers the minute he sees his thumb. It's a trick you can use on your friends, now that you know the secrets.
Coming up next, the secrets to the most impossible illusion of all time, as the magician and his assistants come and go through the door to nowhere. Then, the magician faces down stainless steel blades and loses his stomach. Plus, something goes horribly wrong when an assistant is impaled on an iron spike. Find out how it's done when magic's biggest secrets finally revealed returns.
Here's an illusion that would baffle even the most brilliant problem solvers and skeptics in the crowd. It uses this ornate door in a very ornate frame. The magician wants us to get a good look at the door from both sides. As we can see, it sits in the middle of the otherwise empty warehouse. Nothing and no one can be seen anywhere near the door. Also note that this is one continuous camera shot. There are no cuts and no editing tricks of any kind. The magician opens the door, steps through, and closes it behind himself. The camera travels to the other side, and he's gone. Completely vanished. An impossible trick. Wait, there he is. But we just saw the back side of that door. This is like something out of the Twilight Zone. Let's look back there again. Nothing. He's vanished into thin air. Again. Here's one of his beautiful assistants. Maybe she can help. Wow. That was helpful. Not the magician, but I'll take it. I think I like this magic door. But I want to see where she came from, so let's have another look behind. It's the magician. Was he there all along? Couldn't have been, unless he can turn invisible. He steps back through and we can see that this is the same door, same continuous camera shot, and no tricky editing. I'd want to be on this side with the girls if I were him, too. He opens the door, and 2 more join the party. Where can I get one of these from my house? An impossible illusion performed right before our eyes. So how does the magician make himself and others disappear and reappear with his magic door? Let's look at it again. When the trick begins, the magician shows us the door from all sides. As I said, he does this trick in one continuous camera shot. There are no trapdoors in the floor and no secret hiding places. Next, he walks through the door and closes it behind him. The camera travels to the other side to find that he's vanished. Yet when the door opens from this side, the magician reappears behind it. But how? Here are the secrets. Like many illusions that are presented on television, the secret is all in what the camera sees and what the camera doesn't see. The illusion is blown when we watch from this overhead angle. Keep your eye on the magician's camera. What the lens sees is represented by the color triangle. Anything in black and white is out of camera range and can't be seen when looking through its lens. Here, the camera sees the magician in front of the door. From above, we can see that when he walks through and closes the door, he is hidden from the camera's view. As soon as the door is closed and he's out of camera range, he races off stage before the camera comes around. By the time the camera travels to the backside, the magician appears to have vanished. Actually, he's hiding in the shadows, running through the warehouse to his next position, careful to stay behind the lights. But if he's off stage, how does he reappear behind the door so quickly? He doesn't. It's his body double. Looks just like him. Sort of. Well, the costumes are the same. As the camera is traveling to the back side of the door, the double is running toward it in a straight line. The camera can't see him until he opens the door. It looks as though the magician has appeared. Then the double closes the door and he races off stage at an angle, creating the illusion that the magician has vanished again. Meanwhile, the masked magician is hiding off stage for his next appearance. Next, the assistant enters to open the door, revealing another girl. From above, we can see how this girl races into position while hidden from the camera lens. She has to sprint quickly to get into position without being seen. She makes her entrance and the door is closed again. This is when the masked magician makes his run for the door. By the time his camera comes around, it seems that the magician has appeared from nowhere. He then walks back through the door, closing it for just a moment. This is when the last 2 assistants race in from off stage. This must be how they stay in such good shape. The magician has them running all over the place. They arrive just in time for him to open the door and welcome them to the club. The carefully choreographed illusion is complete, and now you know how it's done.
Up next, the magician shows you how his stomach magically disappears after he's sliced in 3. And then, a simple balancing act goes bad when a beautiful woman is speared by a spike. See how it's done when magic's biggest secrets finally revealed returns.
Here's an illusion that dates back to the early 1900s. There are photos of Houdini's contemporaries like Howard Thurston performing the original version of this classic trick. The magician shows us an oddly shaped cabinet. He walks around to give us the view from all sides. It looks just large enough to contain a human being. The magician calls in his beautiful assistants, and one of them hands him a very sharp steel blade. Seems solid enough. Now for another. Smaller, but just as sharp, solid, and menacing. She'll save them for later use. The magician gets some help opening the cabinet. We can pretty much imagine what's going to happen next. Well, there's a switch. Instead of one of the girls, the magician has climbed inside. An assistant secures his neck with a steel strap. Next, a metal bar is lowered and 2 steel plates secure his legs. They really don't want him to escape. The doors in front of his head are closed, along with the main doors of the cabinet. The assistants now rotate the box so that we can see that the magician has not sneaked out through the back. Next, the girl with the sharp blade slides the smaller one into the cabinet at neck height, separating the magician's head from the rest of his body. There's a painful razor burn. Now for the large blade. She slides it into the box at the magician's waist. After a bit of a struggle. That's one way to reduce your metal. No pain, no gain. We can still see his legs, so we know he hasn't escaped from the cabinet or from serious injury. Yep, there's his head. But his torso has completely vanished. The girls open the doors on each side, and now the back. Gone. His legs are still there, no middle. Then his head. Looks like only part of him got out in time. But where did he go? And is the rest coming back? The doors are closed back up again so we don't have to look at this ghoulish mess. Now the blades are removed. First the big one, then the one at his neck. She's good at this. The cabinet goes for another spin so we can see that there is nothing tricky going on in the back. Let's look inside. There's his head, and his middle is returned. The metal fasteners are removed and the magician steps out. Still alive and showing no ill effects. Just like magic. But you know there's a secret. So, how did the magician survive one sharp blade through his neck, one through his gut, and his torso vanishing into the ether? Here are the secrets. First, the magician steps into the cabinet and the doors are closed. Before the first blade is inserted, the magician has already gone to work. Hidden in the top of the cabinet is a phony head, which is flipped down into position. From this view inside the box, you can see the magician reach up to release the fake head. From the front, it looks convincing. When the assistant is sliding the blade through what we think is the magician's neck, it's simply passing just beneath this false head. Next, we see the girl slide the large blade through the magician's waist. Hidden inside the box is a secret seat that is attached to the back of the cabinet and painted black so it can't be seen from the front. When the doors are closed, the magician sits down on this seat and bends forward, allowing the blade to safely pass just above him. From this angle, we can see that the blade never touches the magician. From the front, it appears as though he's still standing in place because his legs never move. The next secret is that the area above the metal plates is masked by sections of fake pant legs. He flips these into place to disguise the empty space and make it appear as though we are seeing his legs as though he were still standing. Here is the action with the cabinet doors open. The magician sits down on the concealed seat, flips in the fake legs, flips down the fake head, and bends forward to make room for the large blade. The girls reveal the head and then open the doors to show that his body has mysteriously vanished. In order to make it look like the magician is reassembled, the assistant first removes the blades, allowing room for him to sit up, hide the fake legs, flip the phony head back into its compartment, and stand up in preparation for his appearance. An updated version of a classic illusion, and now you know how it's done.
Coming up next, the magician's gorgeous assistant gets skewered by an iron spike. Find out how it's done when magic's biggest secrets finally revealed returns.
Here's a trick street magicians have used on national television to fool millions of viewers. The magician shows us an empty plastic water bottle and a cell phone. But there's no time to take a call, not when there's magic to perform. He taps the top of the bottle to prove that it's solid and that there's no way for the phone to fit through the mouth. He taps the bottom, then presto! The cell phone has penetrated the solid bottle and is now inside. And it looks like it's staying there. Hope nobody calls. So, how does the magician take an ordinary plastic water bottle and magically make his cell phone wind up inside? Here are the secrets. First off, the bottle has been prepared with a long slit along one side that's large enough for the phone. The magician used scissors to cut the slit before the trick began. See how his hand fits inside without distorting the shape of the bottle. He starts the trick by using his phone to tap the bottle to prove that it's solid and to convince us it hasn't been tampered with. Then, he quickly rams the phone through the slit in the side. Just that simple. Here it is in slow motion as he pushes the phone through the cut opening. Once the phone is inside, the audience never notices the slit. There's another street magic trick that won't fool us again. The magician will now attempt an incredibly dangerous balancing act in hopes of avoiding disastrous results. He begins by showing off this arrangement of antique iron spikes. These are the same spikes found protecting medieval castles, haunted mansions, and Gothic cemeteries. They're all very sharp and very lethal. In the days of the knights, these spikes were used to impale dangerous lawbreakers and reviled enemies. Tonight, he'll use them to perform a perilous illusion with the help of this very lovely lady. She looks pretty dangerous too. Pretty and dangerous. That's a combination that's perfect for a trick like this. He calls in the help of two male assistants in the event this girl is too much for one masked man to handle. As he puts her into a deep trance, the men lift her onto the tallest spike, balancing her precariously on its iron tip. The magician continues to conjure, being careful not to let the girl slip out of her trance. Ouch. The girl has been impaled by the spike. The tip has plunged all the way through her stomach, coming out the other side. This is a case for workers' comp if she somehow survives. Still, even pierced by the stiff iron rod, she manages to look graceful and gorgeous. Maybe this was the magician's plan all along. To stab a girl in the back by magic. What did this dangerous beauty do to deserve such a painful punishment? And is she past the point of no return? Let's find out. The men help lift her off the spike as she awakens from her trance. Finally, and look at that. She doesn't even hold a grudge. Maybe women do like bad boys after all. But just because she survived looking as incredible as before doesn't mean you should try anything like this at home. After all, this was just an illusion, and they know the secrets.
Coming up next, find out how the magician impales his assistant with the iron spike and brings her back to life. When magic's biggest secrets finally revealed returns.
We just saw the masked magician place his stunning assistant on the point of an iron spike and impale her. So how did he do it? When the illusion begins, the magician displays the collection of imposing-looking iron spikes. The spikes appear to be deadly sharp and quite dangerous. But on closer inspection, we can see that the pointy iron tips are actually made of foam rubber. They look lethal, but they're really quite harmless. They're as soft and pliable as a bath sponge or a toy bow and arrow set. The center spike contains some bigger secrets. When the assistant is placed on the spike, it appears that the spike goes right through her beautiful body. But if you look closely, you can see that the tip of this spike retracts into the shaft. When the assistant is placed on top, the point simply sinks down inside the spike, which is really a sturdy hollow pipe. Beneath her costume, the assistant is wearing a special harness that rests against the small of her back and has a socket that fits over the end of the phony spike. Without her fancy dress on, we see how easy it is to make the magic happen. When the men lift her, the magician guides the socket to the top of the spike. From this angle, we can see the moment the tip retracts and the harness attaches to the pipe. While the steel pipe and harness support her back, the girl must use her tremendous abdominal strength to keep her shoulders and legs up. This is the result of hours in the gym. Next, when the magician makes his magical gesture, the girl appears to be impaled by the spike. But how? Hidden inside the spike is a spring-loaded piston which retracts into itself. This lowers the assistant down, creating the illusion that the spike is being driven into her. See? She's actually just going for a ride as the piston slides the pipe down over itself. There is a release cable that runs from off-stage to the base of the spike. Off-stage, a stagehand controls the action. The magician motions, the stagehand pulls the cable, releases the piston, and the spike lowers the girl. If you look closely, you can even see the cable as it's pulled. We're so busy watching the girl being impaled that we don't even notice. But if the girl and the spike are lowered at the same time, how does the tip of the spike appear to puncture her stomach? The assistant has a duplicate spike tip that attaches to a magnet on the front of her harness. See? It's just strapped on. Her careful timing when placing the tip creates the illusion that the duplicate tip is actually being driven through her. As she's being positioned on the pipe, the girl removes the extra tip from a secret pocket in her costume and conceals it in her hand. Notice that she keeps her hands directly above her abdomen until the tip appears to puncture her. This is to hide the fact that she's securing the tip to the magnet. Once the piston lowers and the tip is attached, all she has to do is let her arms fall and reveal the tip. But how does the spike appear to be its original height once the girl is lifted off? A hidden pedal operates a hydraulic lift inside the pipe. It works like a dentist chair, raising the spike back up. And now, you know the secrets.
Next time, the masked magician returns to reveal more of magic's biggest secrets.